Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day one of Grammar Ready with me. All right, GRWM, an acronym that is very familiar to most of you. Okay, so for today's exercise, we have taken it from the 2023 O-level specimen paper for the English language. Okay, so let's just briefly recap what we have to do when it comes to editing. Okay, so first things first, you'll notice that there are going to be 10 lines given to you. All right, there's going to be 10 lines given to you over here. I've highlighted it. All right, there's 10 lines given to you, and not all of these lines will have errors in them. All right, there's going to be out of these 10 lines, there's going to be 2 lines that are correct. That means they have no errors at all. And what do you do if they are correct? You just put a tick, right? In the blanks here, you just put a tick in the blanks over here, all right? You do not have to force yourself to come up with an error. So out of these 10 lines, 2 of them are actually correct, okay? Right, so with that in mind, let's begin. So this text, the topic of this text is going to be about mountain climbing. Okay, so as always, whenever I do editing with all of you in class, I always say that it is nice if you have some experience with the topic at hand, right? But it's also okay. It's perfectly fine if you have never experienced mountain climbing before and you're looking at a mountain climbing text for the first time. It's perfectly fine because at the end of the day, grammar is all about a bunch of rules. It's about how you apply these rules to make sure that your entire text, your entire writing is grammatical. Okay, so with that in mind, let's begin. All right, so climbing a mountain requires a person to be fit. But what is astonishing, okay, so we see our first somewhat big word here, astonishing. It's just another word for shocking, okay? Astonishing is just another word for shocking. Is how many people arrive at a mountain until carrying out the correct preparation. Okay, so let's pause here. In our first line, okay, in this case is here, this is our first line. Do not be confused. This is not line 2. All right, this is line 1. There is possibly an error. Okay, there's possibly an error. If you do the math, since 8 out of 10 of these lines have errors, there's an 80% chance, all right, that this is wrong. There's going to be an error here. So when we look at line 1 over here, we have to ask ourselves, what is shocking when we read line 1? What exactly shocks us? Because the word astonishing is used, right? So something has to shock us. So we read about how, there are actually many people that go to the mountain, right? And then something about carrying out the correct preparation, okay? So let me just highlight this part over here, right? Carrying out the correct preparation. Okay, so in this case, in this text, the word until over here is a preposition. This is a preposition. So if you recall what I say in class, right, prepositions, they preposition nouns or noun phrases, right? The preposition, that means they come before nouns or noun phrases. So in this case, this entire chunk here in green, carrying out the correct preparation, it is an adverbial, definitely, it's a clause, right? And it's also prepositioning this entire noun phrase over here, carrying out the correct preparation. But we have to ask ourselves whether this preposition is able to capture the relationship between the first part of the sentence, which is, there are many people coming to the mountain, and the second part of the sentence, which is carrying out the correct preparation. Does the preposition until help us to convey, help us to capture this shock? The answer is no. Okay, the answer is no. Okay, it is only going to be shocking to us when we read this sentence and this part here in green, carrying out the correct preparation, when we realize that many people come to this mountain without being prepared. So, for instance, maybe they didn't bring enough water, they didn't wear the correct shoes. All right, the word until, the preposition until here makes no sense at all. It doesn't connect the first part of the sentence, many people coming to the mountain, and the second part of the sentence, which is the preparation. It makes no sense at all. This relationship is not established. So in this case, all right, so remember you have to circle the mistake here. Let me just use blue in this case. We circle the error here until. We change it to our correct answer, which is without. All right, without. Okay, so this is able to capture the shock. People come here without wearing the right shoes, without carrying enough water with them. Okay, they are not prepared at all, and yet they want to climb a mountain. That is quite shocking. All right, so let's move on. So let's look at line 2 now. It calls for fitness and patience. It is essential to maintain a steady pace, right? And not blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there is a very obvious mistake here. Okay, so let's look firstly at this word here, fitness. All right, let's look at the word fitness here. Okay. Fitness here, what form does it take? Right, recall in class, this is what we always do. What form does it take? Is this a verb? No. Is it an adjective? He is very fitness. He is fitness? No. This is actually a noun. Okay. Logically, right, this word here, I want it to be a noun as well. So I might be thinking, oh dear, Mr. Cole, right? Patient is a noun. You know, my grandmother was a hospital patient last month when she, unfortunately fractured her ankle. Think about it. In this case, we're not referring to a hospital or some kind of clinical medical context. We're talking about the virtue, right? One of our school values, right, of patience. Patience, all right? So in this case, the mistake here is going to be patient. In this case, the word patience here is in the form of an adjective, right? It's in the form of an adjective, all right? It's describing a person. Bobby is very patient, but we want it to be in the noun form. So I got to change it to a noun form, all right? So in this case, the noun form of the word patient is going to be patience, all right? It's going to be patience. It calls for patience, all right? So that is how we ensure that the word forms of both fitness and patience are identical. I want them to both be nouns, all right? And we're not talking about the medical context here, so we're not talking about hospital patients, all right? We're talking about the virtue, the school value of patience, IENCE. Okay, let's look at the next part of this sentence. It's essential to maintain a steady pace and not treat it like a competition. Sounds alright to me. So far, so good. Enjoy the wilderness, all right? So the great nature, the great expanse of nature, and the experience. Instead of trying to conquer the mountain like a superhero, it's far more satisfaction and worthwhile. Wow, that is a long sentence, everyone. Okay, let's break it down. We're looking at line 3 now, okay? So this line over here. Enjoy the wilderness and the experience instead of trying to conquer the mountain like a superhero. Alright, so we have this super long sentence here. Enjoy the wilderness and the experience instead of trying to conquer the mountain like a superhero. It's far more satisfaction and worthwhile. So, my friends, right, I would like to point out to you here that there's actually a comma after the word superhero. Okay, if this were a full stop instead, there would be nothing wrong, there would be no error with line 3. I repeat myself, if this were a full stop instead, there would be no error at all. Line 3 is actually okay. But because this is a comma, and we see that the sentence continues, right? It says, it's far more satisfaction and worthwhile. We realize here that the word enjoy, alright, allow me to circle the word enjoy here, is taking the wrong form. The verb form is actually wrong. Right now, as it stands right now, the word enjoy is actually an imperative. I repeat myself, it's actually an imperative, which means that it is kind of like giving an action, giving an instruction. Cook the egg, fold your clothes, wash the toilet, right? It's taking a command kind of form right now, which we technically call an imperative, right? But in this case, we are not using this as an instruction. It's not asking you to, enjoy the wilderness and the experience, right? Because this sentence is so long, actually. So the subject of this sentence is actually this part here in green. Allow me to highlight it. This part here in green is actually the subject of the sentence. Alright, it's the subject of the sentence. And it has to take the form of a ing. Alright, it has to take the ing form. So allow me to just write down the correct answer first. Enjoying. So in this case, enjoying, right? Technically we call this a gerund, right? G-E-R-U-N-D. But the ing form allows the word enjoy to become the subject of the sentence. All right, enjoying the wilderness. And if you are not convinced by this, just take a look at the second half of this sentence. Trying. Okay, so it has the same ing form. All right, the same ing form. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to line 4. There's a pretty obvious mistake here. Instead of trying to conquer the mountain like a superhero, it's far more satisfaction and worthwhile. Okay, I will just directly circle the mistake here. All right, hope it's obvious to all of us. Satisfaction. Okay, so this actually has the same mistake as back in line 2. Remember fitness and patience, right? Okay, so we ask ourselves here, okay, we are looking for something that describes the experience of enjoying the wilderness, correct? So when we describe something, the word has to take on the form of, is it a noun? No, it's going to be an adjective. So we want this to be an adjective, and we want this guy over here to also be an adjective. We ask ourselves first, is worthwhile an adjective? Yes, worthwhile is adjective. It's already an adjective, all right? You can say that, for instance, eating a McSpicy burger was very worthwhile. All right, I'm describing the experience of eating the McSpicy burger. Is satisfaction an adjective? No. As it stands right now, it is a noun. Okay, so we have to change this into an adjective. You cannot say that McSpicy is eating a McSpicy is satisfaction. You will say eating a McSpicy is satisfying. All right, so that is the correct form of this word because we want it to be an adjective. Okay, so we'll use the form satisfying. Let's move on to line 5, everybody. So don't forget, to get to the top, you need sufficient energy. Sounds pretty alright to me. I don't see any errors here. It's no different from blah blah blah. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm pretty confident that line 5 has no errors. Okay, so I'm going to put a tick over here. Okay, so it's no different from putting wood on a fire. Whether you do not have enough, the fire goes out. Okay, so we have another error here in line 6. I will circle it first and then do the explanation. Okay, the error here is whether. Whether in this case, right, functions as, all right, hope you can remember this. This is a conjunction, all right? This is actually a conjunction. Okay, so unfortunately, this is the wrong conjunction that's being used. We look at this sentence again. It's no different from putting wood on a fire. Whether you do not have enough, the fire goes out. So we think about it logically using some very simple science knowledge, right? When you do not have enough wood, the fire will go out. In fact, you see, when I was trying to explain to you, I already gave you the answer. Okay? Fire goes out when you don't have enough wood. Okay? Correct? So this is actually, if you want to be a bit more technical, this entire part here is the subordinating conjunction. The conjunction here is a whether, which is wrong, unfortunately. Right? And this entire part here, the dependent clause, right, it also functions as the adverbial, right? It's the adverbial which indicates the condition. So the fire goes out when we don't have enough wood. Okay? So I'm going to write it here. The correct conjunction that is used to show reason or condition to explain how come the fire goes out should be the use of the word when, not whether. Okay, not whether. So let's look at line 7. On a long climb, your body burns double or triple the calories it usually does. Okay, seems alright to me so far. So I'm going to put a tick here. I will come back to it in case I feel that there's a mistake later, okay? So you must provide it with plenty of slow burning carbohydrates. Seems alright to me. I don't have to be, a food and nutrition student to understand that there doesn't seem to be any errors here. Okay. There is also fewer oxygen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a mistake here. Okay. Fewer. Fewer is a mistake. Let's see whether you are able to understand why it's a mistake. Okay. Oxygen is it a countable noun or an uncountable noun? One oxygen, two oxygen, five oxygens, no such thing, right? Oxygen is uncountable, right? Oxygen is uncountable. We learned this from primary school science. You cannot count how many oxygens there are. The word fewer, all right, the word fewer is used in cases where it is countable, right? It's used for countable nouns. If I want to change it to uncountable, I have to use its sibling, which is less. Okay, there is less water here. Less, okay? We cannot count water as well, okay? We cannot say there's fewer water here, right? So there is less oxygen at high altitudes. Okay, seems alright. Which means you pant a lot and sweat more than usual. Okay, for line 9, there is definitely an error here, but I think that most of you will struggle to identify it or even explain why there's going to be an error here. Okay. Unfortunately, I think that most of you will circle something else. You guys will probably circle high and maybe change it to a different version, a more superlative version like higher, possibly something like that. Okay, that is wrong. Allow me to just cancel this. That is wrong. Okay, there's no need to. There's nothing wrong with high altitudes. Okay, that's a perfectly valid use of the word high. Okay, the word that is wrong is due to a subject-verb agreement problem, SVA. Sounds very familiar, right? SVA. The word mean. Okay, ladies and gents, right? The word mean here is wrong. Okay, the word mean here is wrong. Okay, so we recall the word mean here. Okay, is going to be the verb, right? So where's the subject? The subject is actually oxygen. Okay, the subject is actually oxygen. Okay, the subject is actually oxygen. In this case, oxygen, because it's uncountable, is a singular. It's actually singular. Okay. When your subject is singular, most of the time, the verb will carry an S. Okay, so what do I mean? Give you a simple example here. Bob wears a jacket. Okay, Bob in this case is one person. There's only one Bob here. This is singular. Notice how there's an S here for the verb wear. Okay, it becomes wears. Okay, so in this case, right, because oxygen is singular, is uncountable, the word mean here is wrong. This is going to be the error. So the right plurality of this is going to be with an S here, means. Okay, I'm going to use the singular version, means. Okay, you pant a lot and sweat more than usual. All right, so causing dehydration. So an amount of water you drink is crucial. There is a pretty obvious error here. I won't spend too much time on it. N. Okay, N amount. So in this case, the determiner that is used, all right, so to be technical a bit, the determiner that is used is wrong. The determiner here is wrong. Okay, we should be using the, THE. Okay, the amount of water you drink is crucial. This should be quite obvious to you, all right? The amount of water you drink is crucial. Okay, so the reality of climbing big mountains is that there are a number of factors to consider. So there's no error there because it's not even within our 10 lines. So in this case, we have identified 2 lines here with no errors at all, 5 and 7. Just make sure that you have ticked. Okay, and there you go. All right, there you go. We have completed this specimen paper. Overall, I would say that this is not the easiest editing paper out there. All right, there are some difficult questions. For instance, I would say that question one was very tough to begin with. All right, was three was very difficult. All right, enjoying this part was quite difficult as well, and nine was pretty difficult as well. Okay, right. So do not be too discouraged if you made quite a few mistakes here. All right, do not worry. That's the whole point of this series, right? Grammar ready with me, GRWM.